Hi everyone, so I'm here today with a bookshelf tour for you because it's been ages since I've done one, so I thought I'd do a really in-depth one. Basically, my plan is to do one shelf a week. Basically, no one wants to sit through a 45-minute video otherwise, and I definitely don't want to sit and edit a video that would be that long either. So this way it just keeps everything much more manageable. Today I'm going to start with, try and get the angle right, that pile there, and also then this shelf, because I may as well just start at the top and work my way along, hadn't I? This seems like a reasonable angle. So the top shelf, I will quickly talk you through, but I won't show you because I've shown you many times before. I've just got my Hogwarts animals and my Hogwarts wands and, you know, just other random stuff. Book-wise, I've not got many up there. So at the very top, I've got my colouring book collection. So we've got Roald Dahl's Marvellous Colouring Book Adventure, and I've not had much time to do this, so I've not got far at all with this. Yep, that's as far as I've got. Hopefully in the summer I will find some time to get some colouring back in my life, especially since this is just the first of many colouring books that I'm about to show you. So next we have got Lost Ocean by Joanna Basford. And this one's just full of really intricate underwater kind of themed pictures. Next we have another Joanna Basford one, and this one is The Enchanted Forest. And this one's just got loads of woodlandy sort of images in it. Again, not really done much of this one either. Next we have my Harry Potter colouring book, which again is very, very undercoloured. But this has got some really fun, great images in it that will, you know, remind you of your reading experience, and I really want to work on this one more too. Then we have my Fantastic Beasts colouring book, which I've done even less of. Again, it's a really cute one. Then we have this smaller colouring book which just has loads of designs in it, and an even smaller version which I haven't even started either of these two, which is really sad. Up the top there I have The Bones of You by Debbie Howells, which I read a couple of years ago, really enjoyed, and I've got a review to this, so I'll link that in the cards and also in the description down below. But this is a psychological thriller that I loved. So moving on to the main top shelf that I wanted to show you today. I'll just talk you through the decorations I've got on there first. Let me just grab them. So one of the main things that I keep on that shelf is this cute little elephant that I got from Chester Zoo. It reminds me of my trip there with friends the other year. I really enjoy getting like cute little cuddly toys, and where else to put them except in little gaps on my bookcase. The other main things that I have on that bookcase decor wise is my signed and personalised Robbie Williams album, and also the first one, again signed. And then I've just got some old tour tickets just to like help with the memories, I suppose. So I've got this Take That one, and also my Robbie Williams one. The Robbie Williams one is particularly precious because this was at Wembley. So I've been to Wembley. And now on to the books. So the first book I have that I can show you off there doesn't actually have a cover because I've owned it since I was a child, and it's falling apart and really beaten because I used to read this over and over again. And so this is the Ghosts of Fear Street, the first one in the series. That's what it's called, Hide and Shriek. And yeah, I really loved this as a child. It's by r.l.stine. So when I stopped wanting to read the Goosebumps books, I started looking for other books by him, and I stumbled across this series. So this is the first book. I'd love to reread this sometime. I'm sure it wouldn't take very long because children's book, nice small font. I do want to reread the Goosebumps books in October. I've been saying that every year, but this is the year where I'm really prioritising rereading, so I'm hoping I can do that this year, and maybe I'll just throw these in at the same time because it's only short. I've also got The Ghosts of Fear Street, the second book in the series, which is Who's Been Sleeping in My Grave. Again, I read this one a few times, but it's not half as battered as the first one. and I don't think I enjoyed this one overall quite as much as the first one, but again, I'd love to give it a reread, why not? So now, next on that shelf, I'm going to move on to the Goosebumps book. Welcome to Dead House, which is the first book in the Goosebumps series, of course, by r.l.stine. This was the first one I ever read, I think, and it wasn't this copy, it was a library copy at school, and this just ignited my love for this series, and so I bought a heck of a lot of them over the years. So the next book I've got here is the second book in the series, which is Say Cheese and Die. Then we have Stay Out of the Basement, which is the third book in the series. Next we have one of my favourites, like I used to reread this one so much as a child, and that is The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. I loved the cover of this one, I also loved the topic because I loved reading about Egyptians back then, and like ancient Egypt, so this was a really fun and accessible way for me to do that. The fifth book in the series was Monster Blood, and I didn't enjoy the Monster Blood books as much as some of the other ones in the series, but again, didn't hate them. Would totally reread it. Then we have Let's Get Invisible, which is the sixth book. The seventh book in the series is Night of the Living Dummy. The eighth book in the series is The Girl Who Cried Monster, and this is the first one I bought for myself because I really liked the idea of the whole library setting, and I really enjoyed this one, but it's the one that I've reread the most times, and probably the one therefore that I these days would probably find the most boring. Then we have a collection one, so this has got The Girl Who Cried Monster in it, but the main reason why I bought this, even though it had already got that in, is because it had got Welcome to Camp Nightmare and The Ghost Next Door. Welcome to Camp Nightmare was a book that I was really struggling to get hold of as a child. I just couldn't find a copy anywhere, so I just grabbed this one instead, even though it meant that I was now going to own that book twice. And meanwhile, The Ghost Next Door, really funny story, my brother borrowed this as a child and The Ghost Next Door gave him nightmares. Oops. So the 11th book in the series is The Haunted Mask. Book 12 is another favourite of mine, and that is Piano Lessons Can Be Murder, and this one was really short. Book 13 is Be Careful What You Wish For. Book 14 is The Werewolf of Fever Swamp, which, not one of my favourites to be honest. Then book 15 is You Can't Scare Me. Book 16 is another one of my favourites, and that is One Day at Horrorland. Then 17 is, yes we're on 17, 17 is Why I'm Afraid of Bees. Book 18 is Monster Blood 2. At 19 we have Deep Trouble. At 20 we have Go Eat Worms. 21 is another favourite of mine, and that is Return of the Mummy, which is the sequel to The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb that I showed you earlier. So again, I loved this one for the same reasons as the other one, and again, one of my favourite covers with it too. Book 22 is The Scarecrow Walks at Midnight, and the last one that I have in terms of like owning them all in order, so I've got them all up to this one, which is number 23, and that is Attack of the Mutant. And I wasn't a big fan of this one, to be honest. And it's a shame that at this point I don't own all of them, but I own the first 23 in the series. So number 24, oh, I was wrong. So I own the first 24 in the series then. So number 24 is My Hairiest Adventure. Not one of my favourites. I feel like as the series went on, they weren't as good. So the first 10 especially were like amazing, and then they kind of went a bit downhill for me. So number 28 is Ghost Beach. Number 29, which is a bit of a thicker one actually, was one of my favourites as a child, and that is Phantom of the Auditorium. Then at number 30 we've got It Came From Beneath the Sink. Then we have Night of the Living Dummy 2. I did enjoy the Night of the Living Dummy ones. They're just not ones that I read many times. Like most of these books I reread so many times I can't even tell you, but I didn't really read these ones so many times. Number 32 is The Barking Ghost. Then at 35 we have A Shocker on Shock Street. 36 is The Haunted Mask 2. 37 is The Headless Ghost. This is one I did reread a couple of times. I actually really enjoyed this one. I think I liked ghosty things as a child. 38 is one I've only ever read once and don't remember much at all, and that is The Abominable Snowman of Pasadena. 39 is one that I read quite a few times, and that is How I Got My Shrunken Head. And I enjoyed this one because it was just so different. At number 40 we have Night of the Living Dummy 3. Which seems the most beat up of the three of my Night of the Living Dummy books, which is a bit weird because this is the third one that came out. Next we have Say Cheese and Die Again. So this is the sequel to Say Cheese and Die. I really liked that one. This one I thought was a bit crap, to be honest. I mean, of course, it's also highly possible that by this point I was growing out of Goosebumps and just didn't want to admit it, so that might be why I wasn't enjoying them as much. But we then have How to Kill a Monster, Attack of the Jack-o'-lanterns, Vampire Breath. And then I have this one, which was Give Yourself Goosebumps. What was it called? Trapped in Batwing Hall. And this is the third one in the series of Give Yourself Goosebumps, but it's the only one I ever owned. I think I read one other from the library possibly, or from a friend, but I don't really remember which one it was, to be honest. And then my final Goosebumps book on this shelf is this special flashing. Oh, it doesn't flash anymore. Oh, that's so sad. It did the other year. This was recently broke then. But in this we have got Chicken, Don't Go to Sleep, and The Blob That Ate Everyone. I enjoyed this, but again, I didn't think that they were as good as the earlier ones. But again, by this point I was a lot older, so maybe I'd just grown out of it. So, despite the fact that the Goosebumps books take up a lot of my room on the shelf, there is a lot of space for other stuff on there. So we have got The Body, which is a point horror book. So this is what I moved on to when I was sort of feeling a bit too old for Goosebumps. I moved on to point horrors. And it was from this point that I probably proved that when I was older, I would love a good psychological thriller. Because these were like really horror-y and mysterious. I don't remember this one at all though I did reread it a few times. It's a little bit beaten. Next we have Beach House, which is by r.l.stine. So I didn't want to totally let go of r.l.stine and just wanted to try some older stuff by him. I do remember reading this one a few times, and again as I got older I think I went off it a bit. So I also got these massive collection ones which have like 3 kind of creepy stories in them. So this one's got The Cemetery by D. Atkins, Freeze Tag by Caroline B. Cooney, and The Fever by Diane Ho. And I remember really loving this, and you can tell I did because look at the state of it. I used to reread these so much. I think they used to creep me out quite a bit too. Then we have, I think this was the first one I ever got of the point horror ones. So we've got The Window by Carol Ellis, The Train by Diane Ho, and Hit and Run by r.l.stine. I remember Hit and Run really, really well. And I also remember The Train really, really well. I enjoyed both of those tremendously and kind of really want to reread them. Another point horror collection, and this is The Watcher by Leia Litke, The Boy Next Door by Sinclair Smith, and The Hitchhiker by r.l.stine. Wait, oh, that one was Hit and Run by r.l.stine. I thought I got the same book twice for a minute. I do remember The Hitchhiker, and I sort of vaguely remember The Watcher. This is definitely the one that I read the least, though it's not looking all that beaten overall. Again, I'd quite like to reread this too. Honestly, this is like what teenagers were stuck with back in the day, because there wasn't such a thing as YA, so you just kind of got things like point horrors. This one's also a point, but instead of being point horror, it's just a sort of just called Point. And this one's called Number One. I remember reading this, but I don't remember what it's really about at all. Something to do with a song getting to number 1. I don't know, I'd probably quite like to reread this too if I'm being honest. We also had access to books that were called Point Crime, and this is A Pact with Death by Dennis Hamley. And I'm sure if I remember correctly this was a historical fiction with it. And I really, really, really enjoyed it, and it was a mystery, and yeah, I want to reread this. Then we've got some other slightly younger children books mixed in on this shelf. So we've got The Worst Witch by Jill Murphy, which a lot of people have heard of, no doubt a lot of people also read as a child. I'd quite like to get the rest of the series. We then have Mr. Majika and the Dinner Lady. Again, I'd quite like to get the rest of this series too, despite the fact that it's such a just children-y book. I really enjoy sometimes picking up my old children's books. I mean, the writing in this would take me seconds to read, but oh, it's falling apart too. Precious, precious. And then one that many people again will have heard of, and this is Kitten in the Cold by Lucy Daniels, which is the first book in the Animal Arc series. At least I think it was the first. No, it wasn't. Kittens in the Kitchen is book 1. What number is this then? Oh, it doesn't even have a number. Great. But yeah, really enjoyed these. I'd really quite like to read some more of them too. So next we have, again, stuff that I used to read as a child because we didn't have such a thing as YA back then. So I'd got The Naughtiest Girl Omnibus by Enid Blyton. And this has got in it The Naughtiest Girl in the School, The Naughtiest Girl Again, and The Naughtiest Girl is a Monitor. And this was, oh my goodness. The size font. That's tiny. Next we've got Animal Stories by Enid Blyton. So this is The Children at Green Meadows and More Adventures on Willow Farm. I'm not sure I ever read this one. Kind of dents in to like page 36, 37 and then sort of feels really unread from there. So maybe I never actually finished this. Certainly don't remember it anyway. Next we've got a beaten old classic, and that is The Animals of Farthingwood by Colin Dan. I really enjoyed this book. I also really enjoyed the TV cartoon series, which went on to several series, and I really would quite like to rewatch all of that and also read as many of the books as I can find. Of similar vein, we've got The Animals of Farthingwood, The Siege of White Deer Park, which is another book in the series but further on when they actually get to where they're planning on going. Then we've got one that I started reading because I really enjoyed the TV show, and that was The Demon Headmaster by Gillian Cross, which is a really popular TV show when I was a child, and I loved it. In fact, I loved it so much I also got another book in the series, and this one is the actual TV show cover. I also was really into Babysitter's book series when I was a teenager because we didn't have YA, so we had these, and this is the 9th book in the mystery series, which is Christie and the Haunted Mansion, and these are by Anne M. Martin, and they were really popular when I was younger. So I'd also got the Babysitter's mystery special one, which is Babysitter's Haunted House, and this one was probably the first book I ever read that was multiple perspectives. It jumped each chapter to a different babysitter and what was going on in their lives, and I really enjoyed this along with the mystery aspect. And yeah, like I said, this was kind of what we had as our YA access when I was younger. Then I have got 2 books that are part of a younger series for the babysitters, and this is Babysitter's Little Sister, and this is Karen's Ghost. That's the 12th book in the series, and meanwhile I also owned the 11th one, which is Karen's Prize. I never read any of the others, and I'd quite like to pick them up, but they're not something I remember to keep my eyes open for either. So then we have My Naughty Little Sister's Friends, and this is by Dorothy Edwards. And the more read by me, My Naughty Little Sister, again by Dorothy Edwards. I used to read this one a lot. This is like proper childhood memories right here. I mean, this page is beaten, but I used to also love the illustrations in this. Just so cute and really artistically drawn. So this is the last book on this shelf. So it's probably for the best that I'm planning on separating these videos out into separate ones, because this shelf has taken, at the current time of recording, 27 minutes. By the time it's edited down, maybe best case might be about 20 minutes. So yeah, we definitely don't want videos longer than that of me just talking about what's on my shelves, because that would be really boring. So thank you so much for watching this part. If you're looking forward to the future parts, then let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe by clicking the image of me if you want to see more book reviews and other bookish content from me, and I will see you soon. Bye bye!